The Astra Militarum, or better known as the Imperial Guard, is the backbone of humanity's armies across the galaxy. The Guard is made of billions of men and women assigned to countless thousands of different regiments. These regiments are supported by a vast array of light and heavy vehicles that provide the heavy punch to the Guard's offensive. The Guard was vital in the expedition fleets, sent to claim worlds in the Emperor's name, and whilst there are endless tales to be told about their brave exploits, allow me to tell you about 5 notable regiments. The Acid Dogs specialise in subterranean tunnel fighting and have a natural affinity within gloomy confined spaces. Mordant Prime was a night world and bred these hardy, tough, versatile warriors. A planet which had no sunlight, the humans living on the world mined the strains of bioluminescent bacteria which grew underneath the world's surface. The dogs drew from these miners to fill their number. The Acid Dogs are notoriously adaptable with their war gear, and are often capable of utilising weapons that other regiments would be unable to understand. This is due to the dogs' scavenging nature. They often use the great enemy's war gear against them. It is unknown whether this is some kind of self-soothing that they use to attempt to deal with the extreme combat stress they have to deal with, or perhaps they are becoming slowly self-indulgent with these and their extended contact to the Dark God's forces. Perhaps the most notable of the Acid Dogs is Colonel Bane, the leader of the 13th Mordant, an amazingly proficient leader within small unit actions. Whilst detached from the Dogs, Bane served with an assault group which decimated a mutant uprising in the Scarus sector, and due to Bane's displays of skill, was deemed the ideal commander to assault the Gloom Worlds that were held by the mutant factions. The Vestroian Firstborn come from the industrial world of Vestroia and carry a terrible shame that they seek to absolve for. During the Horus Heresy, the world denied the request to send their forces to defend the Imperium, and this shame has led every family on the world to give their firstborn child to fulfill this debt. The Firstborn are trained in the frozen snow and ash-covered ruins of the planet's ancient cityscape, and new recruits are paired with grizzled veterans to draw upon their knowledge during the heat of combat. Due to the training that this regiment receives, they are particularly proficient in cold and urban environments. One infamous Vostroyan, known as Captain Gregorius Sebestav, also known as the Pit Dog, served within the 68th Regiment. This ill-fated regiment took part in the Danak World Campaign, and the captain and a handful of men were the sole survivors after 2 savage orc attacks. On their return to Imperial lines, he was arrested and charged with placing the value of his men's lives above that of the mission's success. Thankfully, the charges were dropped and overturned by the Inquisition. The Steel Legion are from a home world that has only known war. The wars of Armageddon have ravaged the world and have bred an incredibly resilient fighting force. This regiment is known for their adept use of chimera transports, a product of their industrial homeworld. The ash wastes outside the hives are toxic, and the people must wear respirators that will filter the vile toxins and poisons, with the officer respirators being shaped into that of a grinning skull to strike fear into their enemy. Due to the wars against the Orc the people of the world have faced, they have become incredibly adept at killing the Greenskins, and excel within urban hive environments. However, due to their proficient use of rebreathers, are also deployed to particularly toxic regions. The most notable of the Steel Legion is Major Pius Corrin, known as the Hero of Athrand. He and his crew single-handedly destroyed an entire column of Orc armoured vehicles from the top of his famous Shadow Sword super heavy tank. The Death Corps originate from the Death World of Krieg, the site of a civil war with some intending to revolt against the Imperium, a war that left the world an atomic waste ground. The Death Corps are siege specialists and are sent to repay the debt for the world's attempted rebellion. Their soldiers are noted for their disturbing disregard for their own lives in combat, which lends them as brilliant forces to be used in attritional and defensive wars. When an attack is declared, the Krieg prepare to launch themselves at the foe, relying on their tide of humanity to overcome the obstacle, and once they land within the enemy trenches, are vicious close-quarter fighters. Marshal Carisvenna was a legend amongst the Krieg, for he embodied the bloody determination and readiness to sacrifice all to further the cause. The Marshal led the 17th Line Corps for an unprecedented 11 years from the front, and has suffered horrific wounds due to this. Later in his career, appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Orphean War, the Marshal distinguished himself as one of the few formations to not only resist, but to decimate the Necron foe. Taken from the now destroyed forest world known as Tanith, the first have been heavily involved within the Sabbat Crusade. The forest world of Tanith was destroyed during the founding of the first Tanith Regiments, the commanding officer, Colonel Commissar Ibram Gaunt, only managing to save one regiment. This led to the regiment earning the nickname Gaunt's Ghosts. Due to the nature of the world, the fighters have an incredible survival and wilderness skill set that lends themselves to that of the light infantry. This, alongside their uncanny gift for navigation and their use of their trademark camo cloaks, make them an excellent regiment for both scouting and infiltration missions. Despite their limited number, they have been pivotal in multiple war zones. Perhaps one of the most famous ghosts is Major Colm Corbeck, the second in command of the regiment. The man proved to be charismatic and straight-talking, and would lead the ghosts of 2nd Platoon from the front. On the world of Herodor, Corbeck managed to overcome past fears and kill the Chaos cultist leader Pater Sin.